In 2016, the FTC sued one of the leading brain training companies.
Lumosity.
Lumosity was sued for $50 million.
$50 million? And who you think you kidnapped, Chelsea Clinton?
Because they claimed that their games could delay age-related brain decline and also help people with stroke and PTSD. The problem is they couldn't back up those claims with good research, and that cost them a lot of money. Brain training games have transformed from newspaper Sudoku into $1 billion industry. Are these people selling snake oil?
Here's the answer to your problem.
Or do their products have legitimate benefits? This is a story of lawsuits and disputes, of false advertising and exaggeration, and a source of disagreement for neuroscientists across the world. Here's the story of brain training.
The brain, a pulpy mass of cells and fibers.
I think this is a really interesting question.
And so far, there's a lot of work in that area, and I think it is promising.
But there just isn't evidence that any of that will translate into any benefits in a real-world setting.
Firstly, let's clear up what we mean by brain training. Brain training is a program of regular activities that appear to maintain or improve cognitive ability. Our cognitive ability controls how we behave. It's our ability to predict what might happen, to plan for those outcomes, and to adjust our actions accordingly. The games target your speed, memory, attention, flexibility, and problem solving, the ingredients that make up great cognitive performance. These companies have built up massive user bases, people hoping to improve their ability to think for both school and work, but also those hoping to maintain their brain function as they get older. There's a lot of hope riding on these games, and a group of scientists believed that these companies couldn't fulfill their promises to the customers. This lit up a serious discussion about whether these games worked, and the ethics of targeting worried old people with promises that these games would save them. Here are both sides of the coin.
It is promising, but it hasn't showed us that the type of brain training we do, playing computer games or even crossword puzzles, then transfers over to the types of memory challenges we want to get better at, such as remembering names and faces or where we parked our car.
The Stanford Center on Longevity gathered many of the world's experts on the mind and brain to give their opinions on the claims and promises of these companies. They said that exaggerated and misleading claims exploit the anxiety of adults facing old age for commercial purposes. These claims were taken very seriously, and the US government got involved, targeting one of the brain training juggernauts, Lumosity. The job of the FTC is to protect customers from this kind of dodgy behavior, so they filed a lawsuit against Lumosity for $50 million.
And $10 million in tens. You want any fives with that?
On the grounds that they couldn't fulfill their promises to the customers.
It's like a personal trainer for your brain, improving your performance with the science of neuroplasticity.
The claims they made weren't supported by scientific foundations. But I've got an issue with leaving it there. Just because these games can't live up to the wild claims of Lumosity doesn't necessarily mean that they don't work at all. A study from 2010 with over 11,000 participants showed that these games improve your ability to play the game at hand, but don't necessarily result in overall cognitive improvements outside of this. So you may improve on the game itself, but if those benefits don't translate into everyday improvements, then is there really any point? Ultimately, the large group of neuroscientists I was talking about disagree that brain training games offer consumers a scientifically grounded avenue to reduce or reverse cognitive decline. They believe that there's no compelling evidence to suggest that they do. This consensus claimed that it represented the scientific community, but many members of this community weren't satisfied with it.
Here I told them to disregard all direct orders from you.
And here's what they had to say. They released a response saying that they were unhappy with the assumption that all of these games were created equal. Just because one game is proven to be ineffective, that doesn't discount the effectiveness of others. There's increasing evidence that they do lead to improvements in everyday activities that stay around for a reasonable amount of time. You see, brain plasticity is the change of the neurons in the brain through growth and reorganization. Our actions dictate which changes take place. Using this theory, scientists have used well-designed brain training regimes to improve cognitive abilities and reduce cognitive decline. These are small studies, but while the results are promising, more evidence is needed before we can jump to some solid conclusions. There are so many studies coming to different conclusions, making it very difficult to work out an overall trend. Through neuroplasticity, brain training games are causing growth and reorganization of our neurons. That's good, and it keeps our brain active and working. However, learning new languages and new skills does this too. Learning Italian is clearly helpful for your holiday to Rome, whereas the everyday benefits of level 2564 on Lumosity are less clear. In answer to our ultimate question, using brain training apps is better than sitting doing nothing all day. So if you enjoy the challenge of them, then absolutely go for it. For those looking for free alternatives, here are 3 ways to keep your brain functioning well as you get older. Sleep. During the day, toxins build up in our brains, and one of the main culprits of this is beta amyloid. Sleep allows us to flush these toxins. This matters because when the beta amyloid builds up in the brain, it attaches to our neurons, causing Alzheimer's dementia. Exercise. Regular aerobic exercise increases blood flow to the brain, helping us to form new neural and vascular connections. And finally, new skills. Always be learning, building those new connections in your brain through maybe learning guitar, piano, kite surfing, boxing, whatever really tickles your fancy. If you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe. I've got big plans for the channel. Let me know your thoughts, feelings and feedback in the comments, and I will see you very soon.